I'm gonna say, hottest day yet. Totally seeking refuge in a local coffee shop until it ends, because this is just wrong. I just left a coffee shop after having sat there in the exact same position, legs crossed, for about 8 to 9 hours. And I'm sure I can never go in there again because they probably hate me right now. But it was air conditioned and it was lovely. And I've just walked outside and I feel like there's like, I can't really hear myself. It's like there's resistance in the air. It's like I'm walking through water. You know, it's humid. But I think that's a good sign because it means this is coming to an end. I predict 1 day left. Just trying to walk fast as long as I can before my sushi gets too hot. Yes, I'm getting sushi again. Who am I even? Yes. And yes, I am indeed one of those monsters that eat sushi with a fork because I am pathetic. So because the content of this Vlogust has become a bit monotonous, because my life is a bit monotonous, such as most of our lives are, I imagine, it's going to be exciting once I go traveling, but until then I haven't really been doing much but wandering between my room and air-conditioned coffee shops and complaining about the heat. So I thought we could mix things up a little bit. First suggestion I got on Instagram was Muji food. I saw that you had that in your blog. Did you try it? I didn't know they did food. All I bought was a set of plastic lined linen cotton boxes that I could store my knitwear, safe from moths. But what I ended up with was boxes without the zip. They're just open boxes. And that's not what I wanted, so I may have to return them, hoping they will accept that, because that was not what I was going for. A tour of your knitted garments and shawls and mittens. Is it that long ago since I did that? I feel like I did, but maybe I haven't in a while. I think I'll save that for the actual podcast. I feel like that's more thematically relevant there. Maybe talk about some of the old whips we haven't seen in a while. I think that would be best for the podcast, but thanks, duly noted. I've thought about having a whip special for a while, and I think, yeah, I could easily fill up 2 or 3 episodes just talking about my whips because I have so many. And it doesn't actually bother me that much, like a little bit, because I'd like to have them done, but not in terms of having so many things that, oh my god, needs doing. It's more like, I don't know, I wish I didn't have so many so I could start more things. One of those how many stitches can you knit in a minute challenges. Not to be negative, because it's a very good suggestion, but I'm not sure if I want to know. I'll make a mental note of it. Remind me if I don't do it. This is so teenage, but what about a room tour? Fascinated to see how you fit life in one room. Yeah, maybe we should do that. Room tour, mental note. I have to make notes when I edit this, I think. What is your PhD about, if that makes sense? I'm so tired of my PhD, but in a very short summary, it's about delay discounting. So about how we trade off money with time. If I say you can have, £5 in a week or £10 in 2 weeks, if you choose, you know, £5 in 1 week, then you've essentially discounted 5 of those pounds because you don't want to wait a week, and that's kind of the thing we're looking at, and trying to see what ways people actually process that, how it works out in their minds, and how we can maybe tap into that to make them actually wait a bit more, because it's a nice metaphor for savings and, you know, investing in your health and your pension and that kind of thing. And it would be good to know how that works, because people aren't really saving to their pensions right now. Is changing mittens to mitts as easy as omitting the decreases and knitting rib? Yep, it is. It depends how you want to have the final cuff. Like, you could do a garter cuff, you could do pearl cuff, you could do lots of cuffs. I would sometimes recommend doing some decreases before you get on how you want that kind of final edge to be. I find that helps just to not make it flare so much. How do you wash merino single sweaters? Well, as I posted on Instagram earlier, I will never knit merino single sweaters, so can't really comment on that. The reason I wouldn't is just because I feel like they would pill so much, and I don't find that worthwhile. Plus, I don't really care for superwash garments anyway. The only exception being if the yarn is quite round, which a single ply obviously isn't, because it's just a ply, and a round yarn is basically made round by having several plies. Having said that though, I may have ordered a sweater quantity of pure cashmere today, and I have no idea what is going on with my mind. I'm sorry, I'm a hypocrite. I like your headsets. What kind are they, please? They are Taotronics. I think they are BH22. It's the number, TTBH22 or TT22BH. I'm not sure. They're good enough. I like them. They cancel out a lot of the noise that London often offers. When I sit in a coffee shop, they can get quite loud, and it's good to have them on so that I don't go mad. How to make it less hot? I agree, Amy. Let's talk more about the heat. It's terrible. It's actually quite nice now because it's 8 o'clock, and that's actually, it's pretty good now. I can do this as long as I don't move. Someone want me to talk about Norway? Well, that will happen when I go to Norway, because I'm going to Oslo in, what, 4 days? My God. Not sure if this has been mentioned. Perhaps the history of the Cerbero rose. Well, I can briefly cover it. It's basically not from Cerbero, it's not from Norway. We're not entirely sure where it's from, but most available evidence suggests Southern Europe, the Mediterranean, and probably Spain, at least that peninsula. So, not as Norwegian as we'd like to think. It's appeared in lots of crafts, not just knitting. It's quite old. What about sharing a favorite place in London in each episode? Well, that means I would have to go to that place. I'd have to go to a new place every episode, and I am very lazy. But I've shown you some of my favorite places to go on a daily basis, but I don't know. Like, I've included a little clip from Richmond Park in this video, but I don't think I can be bothered to go to Richmond Park this August. Depending on the temperature, I might. Perfectionism in crafts versus enjoying the process. You can enjoy it while being a perfectionist, but if you don't enjoy perfectionism, then maybe try not to be. Is that very, like, a bit condescending and perhaps a bit too obvious to not to be the right answer? I don't know. I think if you enjoy perfectionism, there is nothing stopping you. You know, if that's how you like your knitting, if you like making it absolutely to your expectations and to your standards, helicopters, then by all means. But if you aren't actually that... What is that? Hang on. Can you see that? Those are not normal helicopters. They're like war helicopters. Why are you doing this when I am recording? I think it's very rude. This is not a war zone. I would appreciate if you just packed your bags and left. Yes, there you go. So hopefully you're happy somewhat with that answer. I just think it depends entirely on your personality. I think it's a skill to leave mistakes in and not rip out everything and just leaving it in, because crafts are crafts and they're not supposed to be machine made. But I also think it's a skill to actually get to the point where you just rip out and start over and not be so invested in the time you put in. It's just a fine balance really, and you find your own balance. I love seeing the surroundings. Well, thank you. That means you're probably happy with what I'm doing already. Hot weather knitting. Well, I'm glad you're not all terribly sick of me just commenting on the weather. But thank you. That's a friend of mine, but yeah. I want to know where you got that awesome t-shirt. I got my very awesome t-shirts from knittingismetal.com, and yes, they are awesome, I agree. Norwegian culture versus British culture and how you adjusted when you first moved. I can't really comment too much on British culture because I have really only lived in London, and I find British culture to vary a lot depending on where you go, and I haven't actually been that many places. Like, I find London and Oxford, for instance, to be hugely different. I find people from the Manchester area to be hugely different from London. I find, you know, people from Scotland and the Lowlands and the Highlands to be different. People from Dorset are different, like, and obviously people are different within those places as well, but it's like the cultures I've kind of grasped from all these areas I find vary a great deal, and London is also full of diversity, so it's quite hard to pin down. But I have to say, I don't think London culture is all that different from Norwegian culture, because it's still the kind of same. You don't talk to strangers, you kind of mind your own business, I don't find it that different, but yeah, there's a higher level of talking to strangers. Like, you might. In Norway, you probably wouldn't at all. I can't point out one difference, and this might be London specific, but I don't think it is. And that is, Norwegians mind their space. Like in London, it seems like everyone is completely oblivious to the fact that we're in a very high population density city. People still walk around pretending that there isn't anyone else on the sidewalk, nobody behind them who wishes to walk faster, nobody before them who wishes to get past them. People just walk as if they're the only ones on the street. It's really odd, and I don't understand it, and surely people must walk into each other all the time, because I feel like I'm the only one who pays attention to where I'm actually going and whether I'm bumping into people. It's really bizarre, and I thought for a while that maybe it's just me, maybe I'm getting fed up with the city, but then I've had visitors here who aren't in London that much or haven't maybe been here at all, and they find it really, really odd just how people seem completely oblivious to the fact that there are other people around. So I will say that it really baffles me. Like, if I'm walking along the sidewalk and someone comes up with a building on the side, they would just like walk straight into my path. They're not gonna, like, you know, check if maybe they should wait until people are past, or speed up a bit if they're gonna start walking before the person coming on the sidewalk. Like, things like that we just do intuitively in Norway. It doesn't happen here. I don't know why, because it's like, the more people there are, surely the more you should do these things. I don't know, maybe I just like have this unrealistic expectation that people walk the way cars drive, where you indicate if you're moving aside, if you're slowing down, if you're speeding up. You do that with the assumption that there are other cars around. The same thing with people. I don't know. I think other differences are housing standards, which is something I've touched upon many times before, and I'm sure it's infuriating the locals, but oh my days. Why are there different taps for different temperatures? Why do we have to struggle with the carpets? Why isn't thing better insulated? And why do people think that double glazed windows is a thing to brag about when triple glazed windows should be standard? Why the radiators, and why is everything painted? Everything, radiators, doorknobs, ceilings, everything is painted. If you can paint it, they are painted it. And it's often painted with stuff that will rub off if you wash it with water. And toilets should flush. Yes? I could go on and on about this. I really could. But you don't want to get local Brits run after me with pitchforks, so. But now I'm making it sound like I always prefer Norway to the UK because we have better housing and people get out of other people's way. I don't necessarily believe one is better than the other. There are stuff that obviously keeps me here. I do think it is a tad bit easier to get to know people you don't already know. I think there's more stuff happening. It's just more interesting. It's more stuff happening outside the four walls of your house, kind of. In Norway, everything is so indoorsy that unless you know the people who are indoors, you're not going to obviously be invited. And not that people in London invite anyone home either, but like, things happen outside the home. Calling it inclusive is a bit of a long stretch, but yeah, I feel like just more things happen here, and you could easily actually engage in those events and conversations with people you don't already know. Now there was the other comment whether how I adjusted. I'm not sure I have adjusted. If anything, I was probably so introverted by the time I was coming from Norway that now I may have adjusted more to Norway by being in the UK. So when I come back to Norway, I'm actually fairly well adjusted to Norway, at least for a few first days, and then I'm kind of back to my usual self of being like this. Anyway, my relationship to yarn stash and what the perfect stash size is for me. I wish I had a good answer to that. Like, in a way, I don't see any problems with just having the size of the stash that you want or don't want, or like whatever. You just have yarn. If you don't want it, you can sell it. But that's a bit like thoughtless and consumerist, and we should obviously think about how much we just buy and purchase and consume, and I could do better there, I think. And then it's like the demand that the stash has on you, you know, it says knit me, knit me, knit me, and you end up having 30 whips, like some. So if it stresses you down, then obviously keep the stash down, but if it doesn't stress you, don't feel guilty because you have the size of the stash that you want to have, I reckon. I don't think it's anyone else's business to say whether you have a too big or too small stash, although we obviously can joke about it as much as we like. I don't mind if people joke to me about having too much yarn. I don't personally think people mind if I say, oh, you don't have yarn at all, you can buy recklessly, you know, like, I think we don't take it that seriously, and we probably shouldn't. And it's just, you know, again, same with the perfectionism thing. You do you. If it worries you, then, you know, take that into account. I'm really bothered by the air traffic in London. That's the thing that could probably get me to leave the city at some point. It's just like every minute there's a plane. Complaining is what I do. Someone wants me to talk about metal music. Oh, maybe I'll save that for another video this week, because I will really be doing the very same thing every day. So I can talk about some of the genres and the bands I'm into, if anyone cares. Like, I might need an indication whether you do before I do. Actually, I'm gonna record so early there might not be time, but anyway, let's just put that out there. So thank you so much for letting me spice up the content here a little bit, because I realized it got a little bit mundane when I'm just like, it's too hot to do anything, and too hot to be in and too hot to be out, and you know, I have to work on the knitting and the PhD. It's not travel and fun all the time. So anyway, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. It's really fun.